2 stolen mugs.
2 what?
2 stolen mugs.
Yeah, you're a mug stealer. So we were watching Die Hard 2 the other night, and we usually have to turn the brightness down. Or not have to, but we usually do because it's so crazy with whatever we're watching. We didn't have to with that movie. And we were thinking, like, with it being so long ago, just like the coloration that they used then and how different it is now of it's like it's all very bright and vibrant and just
Yeah.
like in your face, and the whole, well, however far we got, but I mean, I feel like we got an hour into it and it probably wasn't going to change, but it was just like dull coloration, and I feel like they went more for like it's like smoothness. So it's like very just like trying to make everything look smooth and kind of clean.
Yeah.
So it's like the colors are just very, they're just kind of duller and not much, but it
I
was
feel like that's
weird.
kind of the aesthetic of that era, though. Like, because when I thought of that, I thought of Rocky. It's like everything is kind of that muted color.
Yeah.
Like, it almost looks like there's like a gray scale on it a little bit.
Yeah.
So, okay, so what are those called?
Die Hard.
Why did I think, maybe there's another movie that I'm thinking of that has a similar title. Why did I think those movies were set in like a medieval time? Am I thinking of something else that's similar to that? Because everybody always talks about how those movies are awesome, right?
Die Hard movies?
Yeah. Why did I think they were like a medieval?
Mainly like action buffs like these movies.
I wonder if I'm thinking of something else then.
I don't know a medieval that sounds like Die Hard. The only medieval things I can think of is like Game of Thrones, Lord of the Rings.
No, like an old, but it was old. Like that kind of same probably era of movies. If there is this other movie, I'm sure whoever is listening, like it's an obvious, like, because it's one of those classics that everyone talks about. Like it's one of the best for like guys always like it.
Oh my gosh, I have no clue. Medieval sounds like Die Hard?
And the guy's like super tan and jacked and has brown hair.
What?
I don't know.
You think of like Conan the Barbarian?
Nope.
With Arnold?
Nope.
You're not thinking of Rambo?
I can see his face. It's the same. Of course, I can't name any other movie.
You're thinking of the French guy?
Nope. I don't know. Whatever. I'll look it up. I'll look it up later.
That's weird. I don't know.
Because I know it's a movie. Like, I'm picturing the guy and what he looks like, but I always thought that was Die Hard.
Isn't that funny?
So not.
Isn't that funny how wrong you could be?
Like, years and years of my life. So they're like, if I'm in a conversation and they're talking about Die Hard, and I'm just like, yeah, those aren't my kind of movies. Because I'm thinking medieval.
Yeah.
It's like, no, I love those. I like this movie. Like, I like action-packed.
Well, we watched the first one, I mean, a year ago?
I know. I wouldn't have told you that was the name.
Right. But it's like we haven't like watched them that continuously.
Yeah. I like those. I'm happy that there's so many. Like, I'll watch all of them if they're available.
Yeah. Yeah, what are we watching them on? Paramount or Max or something like that? Yeah, but I thought that was interesting of like just how much the attention thing has changed of just everything's got to be very bright and bright colors and
well, it's even just like stylistically, just like, I mean, honestly, think about that though. It's just like music or fashion. Like there's waves of culture and what's in that I'm sure for filmmakers, it's kind of the same thing. Like there was eras and certain trends that happened.
Yeah. Well, it's just all about.
And technology too, like what is available to you.
Well, and that's kind of what's weird with everything is it's all become about keeping attention span rather than like the quality of the thing. You know, some of the best movies that I guess our public or society regards as the best movies, they're not like, it's not the new age type of best movie where it's like it just keeps your attention and it's engaging like all the time. Like we were even talking about the Die Hard movie. I was like, oh, it's weird how this was the formula for movies. Is it's like this slow build, and it just keeps getting like more and more intense or more and more engaging as it goes on, and then you kind of have the big moment that's happening, and then they're trying to like recover and figure that out or whatever. To where now it's like there's a murder scene the first scene of the movie,
Yeah.
and then it's like 3 days before, and now you're hooked immediately because it's like, well, what happened? It just the process of how they make them now is changed, and then the colorations and the vibrancy, and yeah, just so much of it's just about keeping attention span. It seems like now it's not so much about what's the story within it and how are we going to engage people with the story. It's like we'll just use a bunch of action scenes and bright lights, and every 15 minutes there's got to be a shooting scene or something that crazy happens. So it's like the first like 30 minutes of that movie is just like basically nothing happening.
Right.
And you just have to sit there and wait and wait and wait.
Well, because it's a little bit of you're gaining information on what these characters are even. It's like they give you hints right away of these are the bad guys, but have no context of why, who they necessarily are. Because they like kind of leave hints of like the reporter knows them. Like, but who are they? What's their agenda? It like crashes all at the same time, and then it starts to build to the savior aspect of it.
Yeah.
But it is just like a bunch of, at some point something's gonna hit. Like the suspense is building, but
you're gonna have to wait. Yeah. To where now it's like the first scene, it's just immediately suspense built and then complete. It's like, okay, well now I'm gonna watch more because something crazy's happening.
That the attention span thing is kind of funny. Did you hear on maybe it was the Lifeline where they talked about it, where they studied on like the social media platforms, like the scrolling ones where there's like video content, that certain age brackets will watch like different things for a different amount of times, and it's more like the time from when they scroll up the video starts to when someone's talking. Like certain generations will wait and some will not. Like the generation below us, if you don't almost basically have sound of you talking as soon as it happens, like almost like it's cutting you off, then they'll scroll. If there's like a they'll scroll before you even get to the first thing. It's like a 40-second. No, like it's like a name for it. Like it's this generation does this thing, and all the younger generations is like, stop doing that 40-second pause or the 40-second whatever. Where like if you wait too long, they will scroll past you.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Like they don't want to fade in. You have to shove it down their throats immediately, otherwise they're on to the next. Like, that's so.
It's milliseconds.
Yeah.
It's literally milliseconds. They can't wait.
That's what I've been trying to do, just teaching lately, is try to have silence. And just like see what occurs.
Yeah. You just start seeing the kids like. They start like freaking out.
But I think like my instinct is keep talking. Kind of like what you would do. You're probably on stage or you're right now. Like you're just trying to fill space that you wouldn't want a silence, to where I'll direct them to sit on the waiting mat, and then I'll just go over to my computer, pick the song, get the basket of the next thing we're going to do, and then I'll start talking, and just to see like how long can I have that silence go before someone needs to say something, or they start talking, or they start getting like antsy.
Yeah.
And just like seeing how much I can push that, or how many times in the class can I do that.
Yeah. I'll do that with people sometimes.
Yeah, see, I wouldn't do it with that.
Because
I'm comfortable with kids.
I'm generally more. I mean, I'll sit there and not talk for
so
forever.
long. Yeah,
and it's like fine with me. So then it's funny to be around people and just like not say anything and see how long it takes them to just be like, so what's going on? It's like, we don't have to do this. We don't have to bullshit talk. Like, you only have to say things when you actually want to say something. But it's funny just to see the like, okay, start tapping stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, I can do that with the kids, and then I will, like, if I'm yelling, I would recognize there's zero chance I would do this with an adult. Like, one of the kids came up to me and just stared at me. I was like, I know she wants to say something or ask me a question, but it's like she's waiting for me to say, like, what do you need or what do you want or whatever. But it's like, this isn't the time for you to share. So I really don't care what you are going to say. So, like, you have to bridge the gap of, if you really want to say it, you're putting in the effort. So I just stared at her and just waited. I was like, well, that kind of worked. Great, thanks.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny. Silence.
Kids are just so real with that, though. With everything. They're just so real in every moment.
Yeah, it's weird them figuring out what life is.
Yeah.
It's very weird. And it's even more, maybe not more. It's a different kind when you're teaching like older kids. Because the same thing, it's like, oh, you're just still figuring this out. Just like we all are. I mean, it's not like.
It's a never ending.
Yeah, but you're just like 10 years younger. So it's like, what's the things that are going on is funny.
It's almost like young, really little kids. They maybe don't care what they're feeling. They're just like so outwardly expressing it. Like, we were doing an activity that I could tell just all the kids were really into, and the ones that were really excited, like, they would randomly come up and just like give me a hug. Like, I'll be talking and they can't not come and like show whether it's appreciation or they're just like, I'm so happy right now, I need to do something physical about it.
Yeah.
That it's just like these emotions are flowing and they'll respond on it, to where I feel like the older kids, they're discovering and are aware of like, oh, that's weird. Like, oh, I'm experiencing embarrassment, or I'm experiencing like they got mad at me. To our little kids, I feel like it's just like, I don't. Yeah. It's not in me, so it's not happening.
Yeah, they barely even know. Yeah, exactly. It's not in me, so who cares? Yeah. You know what? I told you this the other day. I need to change the coffee thing.
It's just getting too boring.
Well, and I think kind of going along with what we might be talking about today, or what we are talking about today, I'm just going to change the narrative of I just need caffeine more.
Say that again?
I'm just going to change the narrative of I just need more caffeine.
Oh, you need more. Okay. I like this way. I thought you were saying, I'm just going to not need caffeine. And I'm like, we've tried this.
Yeah, that's not going to happen again, I don't think. I really like to play that in my head of how great that would be. But no, I tried that and it's just like, it's just not worth it.
Well, and also, that's what was kind of cool about the looking more into my 23andMe, was it kind of said, like, based off of my genetics, I should be able to process caffeine a little bit faster. So like the effects on my body, I can handle more and it isn't crazy. So I wonder with that, the benefits of caffeine, if I like to get all the antioxidants and all that, if a higher volume is also still okay. Cause like I'm metabolizing it so fast.
Yeah. There's a, over the cliff amount. And it's just kind of probably about finding how much that is for you.
Well, and that's what the 23andMe said, was like, my range could be around 200 to 400 milligrams.
Jesus Christ. I should look at mine. Mine definitely said less. Like it said, like you don't need you probably don't need as much as the average person. But also don't look too much into it because some of the stuff in there is just wrong.
Well, and it's a lot of behavior. Like whatever you train your body to do, that's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Like there's a time where I definitely could have been pushing that amount and be fine, to where now, like I took one of the little clumpings.
Yeah, the pre-workout that we've had for 7 years that is now clumping together.
Which maybe it's less of it was the caffeine and it's just bad. I'm just having pre-workout. But like I normally would have been able to do that and coffee and like that would have been my baseline to where man it like sent me over the edge.
Oh my God, remember in California, so the LA Fitness that we were going to had like a
Juice bar basically.
it had a juice bar, but it was like protein shake, smoothies, and pre-workout scoops or whatever. You could literally go buy a scoop of pre-workout.
Yeah, and they would have them all on display, like all the different canisters.
Yeah.
Which is cool because like you get a bunch of different brands
It was
that you could choose from.
so dangerous. Like, I mean, we would
they
have
put it over ice.
Yep. What do you call that?
Popcorn ice.
Yeah. So stupid. But we would have coffee in the morning. We'd go to the gym, get a scoop of pre-workout.
We'd share one though. We'd share.
Yeah, that's
scoop.
true. But still, that's like most of them are like 350 or 300 milligrams. So it's like an extra 150 milligrams. Like the cup of coffee that I have, or the coffee that I have every day is like maybe 100. Yeah. 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 No, I've thought about that the last few days because I'm just getting bored with it, and then it's like I wonder where my threshold is, where it's point of diminishing returns kind of thing, where it becomes a problem, and it's like you're not sleeping well anymore, or there's just too much caffeine intake isn't good either. But,
sure.
I just really would only be interested in the coffee part of it, not the like I'm not gonna start doing pre-workout again or start doing.
What about like
other things.
if we get like a high quality green tea? Would that interest you or no? Not really.
Not really. See, but the other problem is, I just don't drink things quick enough. So
you need more like
I need more
power
potency.
punch.
Yeah. I can't do just more liquid. I can't just have more coffee. It's like I would need to, do an espresso shot in it or something, and I can't just do more volume because I try to be done drinking coffee by noon, and I barely get that in every day.
Yeah. I wonder if they have a mold-free espresso that we could do either just the espresso or do like.
I love how you say that, like, like coffee presents itself as having mold in it.
It does.
Oh, that's hilarious.
It just does.
So crazy. I wonder if they have, toxin-free apples at the store.
No. I'll answer you right now. No.
No,
they don't.
I wonder if they have mold-free coffee. Seriously. It's like you're choosing boxes of cereal and you're like, are these sugar-free? This coffee, I don't think this is mold-free. That is hilarious.
I mean, am I wild for saying that?
It's just, no, not at all. It's just the way, this is your funny. You always say, I'm not funny. I don't get how I'm funny. This is where you're funny. It's just your delivery of things. That's such an odd way to say that. I wonder if they have mold-free coffee. Like they're presenting moldy coffee.
Sure. Got it. Yeah.
It's like, is this a sugar-free Red Bull? Like, is this a mold-free coffee?
It's like, yeah, it's like a flavoring.
Yeah, exactly. Which, that was something crazy. So I listened to a podcast of Darren Olean. I don't know how to say his last name.
I never know how to say his last name.
He had the show Zac Efron, the Down to Earth show. He's got a book. He just talks a lot about chemicals and toxins and all that kind of stuff and trying to be clean with everything. And I forgot what I was going to say. So that's really cool. Oh, natural flavorings. Natural flavorings, when you see that on the ingredients list, there can still be synthetic material or flavoring in that. Like, they don't have stringent standards and practices to completely exclude synthetic flavorings. So when you see natural flavorings, it doesn't mean that it's just like spritz with lemon or something like that.
Sure.
Like, they're still going through most likely a chemical process of.
Well, because that's where it's like, okay, so if it's a natural flavor, that's where I don't understand, because if there was lemon for the flavoring, they'd put lemon in the ingredients. It wouldn't be like enough for lemon to do a flavor, you'd have to have it be a part of the ingredients list. I just thank you. Where was that? I just threw something out because it said that on there. Oh, my tea.
Yeah, of course.
So it's like I'm thinking I'm having just herbs. I was like, no, the reason it tastes minty is because they're putting mint flavor in it.
Yeah, which is crazy because it's like mint is an herb. Why wouldn't you just put mint in it?
Oh, I'm sure there is mint in it, but it's not strong enough of a flavor that they put mint,
and
fake mint.
That's also why we're just screwed too. It's like our taste buds have changed so much that we need this extremely aggressive flavoring. It's like we need it. You can't just have mint. It has to have mint and fake mint. Which is just, I don't know. It's just crazy. Like the tea thing too. It's like the only way you're going to get natural tea most likely is if you literally go buy those herbs yourself and dehydrate them, grind them up, and then put them in a teapot or whatever. Do it yourself. It's like you're probably not going to get actual pure tea.
Yeah.
Because so much too of like, a lot of what he was saying in that podcast too is like, and reading his book is like, they just don't have to tell you. Like these companies and these things that they put on the ingredients list or whatever, like they just don't have to tell you. Like all these forever chemicals, they're not on the ingredients list. They don't tell you about any of those. And it's like, it's in everything.
It's almost like if it's too small of an amount, they don't have to bring it up, kind of.
There's that, but it's also like they just don't consider, a lot of the times they don't consider like certain chemicals or toxins to be a part of the ingredients list because they don't have a great way of measuring how much it is actually in it.
Got it.
But it's like, like what they talk about with plastic water bottles. It's like they're not going to put on plastic water bottles like, might have PFAS on it or something.
Right.
Which it for sure does because of the research that they've been able to do. But like they're not going to put that on water bottles. It's just the canister that's being carried in. That's where all the stuff is coming from.
Got it.
All the toxins and stuff is coming from. And, with the natural flavorings or the way things are bottled or manufactured or whatever, it's like there's constant chemical and toxin exposure and all this type of stuff, but they're not going to label it as that. I mean, you would literally have, just pages and pages of ingredients lists that has chemicals and toxins on literally everything that we have. The food that you buy, the water bottles, the stuff, like everything. You'd have to list it all on there. And it's like, well, we can't do anything then.
Yeah.
Because they're everywhere all the time.
Yeah.
But there's a certain level of just like, do we need to be doing this? No, probably not. Do we need to be consuming this? No, probably not.
Sure. Well, and I think there's some ways around it too that you can do within your own home. Like a lot of it, I think, is in the packaging of it and the containers aspect of it, which is what my next solo episode's going to be on. So I'll do a whole deep dive into how you can do it, but just a small example would be like your Tupperware, like having that be glass or having the plates that you're having like be not plastic plates. So then when you're microwaving something, if that's still what you're doing, or if you're putting something hot on it, it's not melting the container. Or like we get a bunch of like rice and seeds and nuts, which granted, I think the bags that ours come in are probably fine, but
paper bags, but still they might have,
like we move them into large glass containers. So it's like even your storing mechanisms could, you're not keeping the stuff in the bad stuff for as long as possible.
Yeah. Well, and that's something that I just brought up to you today too, of like the water bottles that we have. Yeah, they're stainless steel, but all of this stuff is just a paint that chips off, and then you're drinking out of a plastic top every single time. That's just like, I don't know. It's just crazy. But he says in here, the average American woman uses 12 personal care products every single day. That's exposing herself to as many as 126 unique chemicals.
I believe it.
Isn't that crazy?
Well, think of just...
You know what the craziest part to me is? 12 products a day?
Oh, I don't think that's crazy. I bet men are not that far off either. I mean...
Well, and that's what he said too. He's like, you're not... If you're a man, you're probably doing the same thing. Which, average man, yes. Me, I'm like, no.
Yeah, it's the stuff that you don't consider. Like, for women, I think it's easier because you go, okay, well, you're putting on face stuff. You're putting on makeup, your hair, or whatever. But it's like your toothpaste and what kind of toothbrush you have. There's already two. Your... what are you wiping your hands off with? Like, what's your towel? Is it an organic material? Or what's it dyes?
He was specific with personal care products. Not like...
Oh, okay.
The other whatever. But it's still...
So more like aesthetic stuff.
What?
Like aesthetic stuff? Like more beauty products, I guess?
Yeah, so like... you wake up, you shower, the body wash you use, the shampoo, conditioner, and then you're putting on moisturizer right after you get out, and then all the different makeups you put on, and then you're putting deodorant on, and then maybe a fragrance of some sort. And for guys, a lot of it's the same things, but then it's like you're not maybe putting moisturizer on, or you're shaving and then putting aftershave on,
shaving cream,
hair gel, you're putting on Axe body spray, all that kind of stuff. Which that reminds me of that Lisa Gilroy is maybe the funniest person in the world.
I knew you were going to say that.
She's just so funny. Her talking about how she just loves the overuse of Axe body spray that some people do use. And it was like, I feel like totally our era. That's like you would just... Because I feel like that's more so when it came out. It was like when we were middle school, high school. And then it's like all of a sudden just this wave of Axe body spray is just permeating through the halls.
Even now, like I'll see a 12-year-old boy, but he has like a necklace on, and I'm like, you're definitely the coolest kid. Like you're a cool kid at school. Because I'm just correlating the freaking fighting necklaces to like, okay, so you're obviously the cool kid at school.
So
like,
stupid.
God. I get the smell. I get the Axe body spray smell. Because it just takes you back.
Well, and that's actually something he brought up with he talks about moisturizer at the part I'm reading, and he's like, so much of it is just the connection to you putting it on, the smell.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like you just really like the smell.
Mm-hmm.
So, and a lot of the times how you're buying that stuff too is based on the smell. And if you the flavor, like you're gonna pick one that you like, and you're gonna pick the one that you like the most, and that's what you start to get like addicted to or hooked on. It's just like that smell every time. There's something about it that makes you feel good or whatever, but
yeah. Yeah, that book will make you go crazy. He'll make you go crazy if you just listen to him talk about anything.
Yeah.
But I also allow myself to get hooked.
Yeah.
Like I'm walking into it going, change my whole life.
Yeah.
Like I will be brainwashed. I'm down for the count with it.
Yeah. It makes you think. Makes you think like what
makes you think. It makes me throw half our stuff away every time.
Yeah. Well, and I think his advice is start with the stuff that you're putting inside your body and try to get as far away from, the chemical and toxic exposure as you can. If you're constantly using single-use plastic bottles, it's like switching that to a reusable something, and then just continue that on, and then start with the stuff on the outside that you're maybe putting on your skin and putting on your body, and then you go to the stuff that's like in your environment, in your home and whatnot.
The water bottle thing to me is crazy. The people that like will buy cases of water and that's just what they will drink at home. I'm like, okay, so you don't want to buy a super expensive water filter, but how much money are you spending on all these cases of water?
Oh, for sure.
Do you just like not drink a lot of water?
I don't know. Oh, like even still, over time, you're not going to spend as much with a expensive water filter than you are the cases of water bottles.
Yeah.
It's like at some point, the quote unquote investment of the water filter is going to be, it's like it's going to catch up.
Yeah.
Like you're just using tap water to fill the filter, and the water's filtering through and whatever, and you're going to spend way less on your water bill and stuff than you are buying cases after cases of water.
Yeah, where were we at where we had to get a case of water and we were like, I don't know if we'll use all this. We ended up having to get another case of it.
It was a convention.
What?
We were in the hotel.
I guess it doesn't matter the details of why, but yeah, we got like a big case of water.
Fucking 48 pack of water or something. And it was like, this is gone in 3 days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you imagine you're doing that on the regular?
No, I don't. Yeah, I don't.
Like, it's more of just like, okay, I get you want to have the clean water and whatever. And like, you maybe don't care about maybe it's that, like, you don't care about the plastic, you don't care about the single use, you don't care about all that. But like, do you not care about how much money you're spending on that? That's wild.
Yeah. I know. I'm glad we're on the same page with stuff like that.
Oh my gosh.
So, I mean,
that to me is like the paper towel argument again.
Yeah.
Just like, you're just ripping through paper towels.
I mean, people probably look at the shit that we do and they're like, this is so stupid. Why do you do this?
Well, if you have a better way, I'm open to suggestions, but it's just because it's different.
Yeah. We always go through the lens of the health and then the cost.
Yeah.
It's like, is it hitting those two things, or what is the consequences of either of those two things? Which is why we'll probably end up getting glass water bottles, because I want glass water bottles now.
I think that'd be cool.
Yeah.
But like sturdy ones. Well, I guess, I don't know. I've proven I can handle it.
What do you mean sturdy ones?
Well, just because we drop our water bottles a lot.
Oh, yeah, but it's like a kid. You got to give them more responsibility. They're going to be a little bit more careful.
Sure. Well, I mean, yeah, it's like we have glasses.
Yeah.
We don't drop those.
Yeah, and I'm not going to try to carry 14 things with a glass water bottle.
Sure.
Yeah, that's true.
I agree.
Yeah. Let's get into this topic.
Okay.
Speaking of changing, maybe not so much changing your narrative as much as just like
questioning it.
Sometimes you got to take a little sneak peek. Not a sneak peek, just a peek. Sometimes you got to pull back. I can't talk.
Pull back the curtains.
Yeah. Yeah, you got it.
Well, but is it pull back the curtains, or is it let's put a magnifying glass to this?
It's like when you hear something outside and you're going to look through the little peephole. That's what you got to do. You just got to take a little look.
Oh, geez, I disagree.
And then you see the world outside.
I think you got to put a map on the table, a big map, and just look at it from an overview perspective.
You remember MapQuest?
I mean, do you remember how we never needed to use it? Because
we didn't, but we were a part of it.
Actually, you know what? Okay, another thing I got to look up after this is, when did those start to become popular? Because I swear I had to drive once and use those directions, but that does not make sense to me. Like, timeline wise, why would I ever have needed to do that? I would have, wouldn't you think, like,
you might have early on. I mean,
but when we were 16, I mean, what phones did we have when we were 16?
I don't know if like the first few of those smartphones
had GPS
that we would have had. Maybe not.
I swear, I feel like I remember driving to Chicago once, but it was like a different part of Chicago that I printed out thing. Maybe it was just like a safety protocol, like in case my phone dies or something.
You know what the other thing was? When we first started getting phones, they didn't have the unlimited data thing yet. So remember, you had to like make sure you weren't using over fucking 4 gigs of data or whatever. So it could have been something like that too, where it was like, oh, if I have to drive to Chicago, I'm going to use 12 gigs of data.
Interesting. Yeah, maybe.
So it might have been that.
Maybe, yeah. I don't know.
The freaking crazy time.
I just do feel like I remember like looking at a paper.
Yeah. I
but
don't.
that also could have been something where I like told my grandpa where I was going and he printed out sheets for me. Like that is something that he would regularly do. Like if I had to drive somewhere, he'd get out the map. And I'm like, this doesn't help me at all.
I mean, there's too many lines.
I was like,
there's just.
He's like, well, then you go over here. I'm like, is this even the same state anymore?
Your finger is as big as 6 lines. So I don't know what one you're tracing anymore. Like, there's just too many lines here.
Oh, thank God for phones. You know?
It's wild. Think about how many road trips we've gone on. We would have never gotten where we were trying to go.
Again, maps. And even that, you gotta have a printer. You gotta find a printer.
Most people have printers on, though.
Yeah.
Now that we have the phones and stuff, like, nobody really needs printers anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you think you need to lay out a map?
Because I think in order to check yourself on your narrative, on the story you keep telling yourself, you have to be able to, just like if you were seeing 2 people fight, you can't just zero in on those specific details. You have to be able to see the whole conversation to see where did this start? Why did this start? Who has what points of view? Where are they coming from? What are their biases? To be able to somewhat mediate that conversation. That I think you have to have a broader scope view on it to then be able to understand the details.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, kind of try to define more of what we're talking about is just we go through life and we kind of believe and we think these certain things and they just get more and more, you know, it's like the tires in the snow track. You keep going over the same track. It just gets deeper and deeper and deeper. And we don't really end up questioning some of the things that we think about or believe or talk about anymore because that is just so ingrained in us and new information, new stuff's coming out all the time that it's wise to stay updated on some of that. Kind of like going to the last podcast that we talked about of there's this idea that like as you get older, you need to just like start walking more and doing cardio and that sort of thing. It's all about heart health. So then people will just stay in that and believe that and only go with that. Towards like, you need to take a step out of that little world and maybe what your doctor's saying, because there's all this other evidence and research that has happened now that is showing something else. So I think that's kind of why maybe we're having this conversation of like, sometimes you believe something so aggressively that you need to kind of pull back and go, wait, what's going on now? And why am I still like only going to think this way and believe this way?
Well, because also going back to our last podcast where we talked about phases of life, I see those phases as you could somewhat be a different version of yourself. Does that story still align? Does that narrative still align? Does that way of thinking or acting still work now? Like you take a kid, what's appropriate at certain ages changes.
Yeah.
Where like crying because you're upset, like, okay, well, a 2-year-old, that might be appropriate and can be fine. If you're 12, there's a little bit of like, you need to learn how to self-regulate and do that. To where you can't just keep going, well, they're a kid. It's like, no, there was years and years of change and development and new realization and growing up that the stats need to change and the mindset, the thought processes needs to change. Or like taste buds. If you just go, well, I tried that 10 years ago and I didn't like it. Like,
right.
Well, your taste buds have changed and adjusted. Maybe you like them now. You're just going to go your whole life saying you don't like that thing that you tried 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
That you could be missing out on a way of living or a way of thinking, or even just updating your software.
Yeah.
Like maybe that doesn't support the life that you're in right now.
Yeah. And I think first things to look at is the things that you're most emotional about. It's the things that like really get you weird and upset. Like we were talking about on the last one of like me, just what makes you happy. It's like, that's just like, why are we talking about this? To where, okay, why are you having such a weird reaction to this? That's something that you maybe need to get the map out and figure out like, why do I feel like this is still benefiting me, that I'm thinking this way or acting this way? And where did it maybe come from? Where does it seem like it's going and heading? Like, you should really figure out what the full scope of this is. And then it's like, well, this direction seems way more positive, way better. So let's maybe start to try to veer in this direction now so that I can be happier or I can get more of what I'm wanting. Because some of the stuff, it's like, you want this image or this story to play out and to happen, but your beliefs and what you think and how you act are stopping you from doing that. And I feel like for me, this happiness thing is like, the whole goal is to like be on the front porch in the rocking chair and like, I did it. And it's like, okay, but the path that you're on, you're never going to do that. You're going to be on the front porch going like, what the hell is that? Get off my lawn. Stop doing this. Like, don't bother me. And it's like, that's not the image that you want. You want the like, you're satisfied and content and happy. It's like, so you need to start going in the direction that is. It's like, what you're doing and how you've been living is not that.
Yeah, and I think where people get very stronghold on this is because it probably did work for you at some point. Like, personal example, I was always against friends and family and having fun and doing anything extracurricular for enjoyment, because I felt like that was steering me away, or those people were steering me away from my goals. To where at that time, that was the narrative that was true and was the most helpful for me. Maybe not true, but was the most helpful for me. Because if I at that time would have allowed myself to, well, it's okay to hang out with friends and it's okay to go to parties and it's okay to drink and it's okay to do all this, I don't think at where I was at, I would have been able to manage both. So I had to choose what was most important, and that was keep your eye on the prize and keep your eye on your goal and your career. But I'm not in high school anymore.
Right.
I've done the thing. So now I can enjoy the friends and the family and the having fun when there's no monetary reason for it. That I could have just kept telling myself that same thing of like, I'm not someone that likes friends. I'm not someone that likes family. I'm not someone that has fun.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, but you're missing out on some of the best things in life now.
Yeah.
And it's like, what is it serving anymore? You're still able to do the productive things and manage that. You at 16, you couldn't do that. Well, you're not 16 anymore.
Right.
You have so many more tools to organize your life and time management and being able to multitask where your emotions are and where you can set goals and still live a life and like adult. It's like, I can't do the dishes and I can't cook for myself and I can't do all this because I have to work. Like maybe at 16, that would have been the case.
Sure.
It's like, but you would hope that you would develop new things, that then my thought process and my viewpoint on those things also needs to adjust with my growth.
Well, and that's why I think this is a topic right after the one that we just had, because it goes so in line with the phases of life thing. And then also this is like, you're kind of naturally going into a new phase of life. You have to start to look at the previous ways of thinking and acting and believing and go like, what is serving me now and what is not? Because like that example, it's like, well, that doesn't really play a role anymore. It doesn't really make sense why I would still be doing this. Now I can operate differently or do different things. I maybe have to sacrifice different things now. Like work isn't first priority. It's second or third because I've established a career. I've established that. I don't need to like,
but I don't know how
crazy.
To maintain relationships.
Yeah. So then you see the importance of that and how that can be helpful and and fun and worthwhile that you start to do that. And I think it's just, yeah, it's just taking like the old ideas and the old beliefs and going like, do I need this anymore? It's like, because like, I think you're totally right. At some point you did need that, and it got you through, or it helped you stay focused on what was important to you. But I think having that check-in of like, I just don't know if this does anything for me anymore. I think it's smart to do, or it's important to do, because you could be holding on to things that, you know, your goals have changed, your wants have changed, but you're still holding on to the same skills or tactics that you were using at 16. Like, that's probably not wise and not what's going to take you down the path that you actually want to get to and go to.
Well, because that's like, I'm not evolving then. Or I'm picky choosy with where I'm evolving.
Yeah.
Versus like, no, what's the whole package of this new version? Like, I think we hold on to those things because, again, it's harder to change. It's harder to...
And they become so a part of your identity.
It's so, yes, it's hard to question a piece of who you are. Like, the friend thing, the family thing, like, I made that into like a part of my personality package, that, so now I just have to change like my outlook on people. Like, that's such a large task.
Yeah.
That it also involves trying new things and putting yourself out there in different ways, or I don't know, like maybe that's a little bit of an embarrassment thing too. Like,
yeah. Well,
not that you were wrong, but just kind of like, there's holes in that now.
Right. And I think another part that's hard about it is it's extreme, but it's like that part of you is dying, or
Yes.
it needs to die.
Yes.
Like, so you're just completely ripping away something that, you know, oh, I'm the person that I don't like celery. I've never liked celery. You know, and then all of a sudden somebody's like giving you some sort of soup and you can't figure out what part you really love in it. It's actually the celery. It's like you have to kill that part of you that doesn't say that anymore. It doesn't do that. And we all kind of, not all, but we have those things where it's like, for some reason you attach yourself to that a little bit more than the rest of the things.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, that's not you anymore. Like me, it's like, I'm really competitive. I like competition. I love competition. And I think it's the best thing. And then it's like the older I get, the more that I start to see like,
it's nice to help people.
well, it's like, maybe competition isn't always the best thing, isn't always how everything should work. And what am I like, even that narrative in my head is like, I'm competing with everybody all the time. That's not helpful anymore.
Right.
Like, it stresses me out. It makes me think I'm always behind and I need to catch up and I'm not winning, I'm losing. And it's like, this isn't doing anything for me anymore. This isn't positive anymore. You're not playing football. You're not playing a sport. Like, you're just living life. There's no competition in life anymore.
Right.
It's like you need to kind of let that go and get rid of that, because it's more detrimental now.
Yeah, well, and that's, I think there's something about honoring that at one point this was created by you for a reason, whether it was to be successful or to achieve something, or it was a coping mechanism or something that you felt safe in that behavior. So that it's not just like, oh, so I was a shitty person then, now I'm like trying to not be that. It's like, well, there's probably a reason that you were like that or tried to be like that, or like competition at one point. If that was like your main motivation, probably helped you a lot, because you really only had to focus on two things in life.
Yeah.
Like, be good at football and come to school. It's like, that's really your only worries that you had to think about. Like, well, you're an adult that has an array of things now.
Yeah.
It's like, you're not playing a game, but at one point that did serve you. And I think with the competition thing, that's because that's such an identity, or for me, thinking about like the codependency stuff, not only creating that narrative, but like what we've been saying, like the story of why that sounds cool. Like it's cooler to sound like, yeah, I just, everything is a competition to me. Like I just love to win.
Yeah.
It's like that for some reason sounds cooler than, yeah, I just kind of do everything with the effort I feel like it is, and I try to help people. It's like that's so lukewarm, even though it's probably the most impactful.
Yeah.
But it's like you're just holding on to something because it sounds better.
Totally.
There's more drama around it, or there's more of like ooh, you're being anti whatever it is. Like I'm not a friend person. I don't need people.
Yep.
It's like,
okay. It is. It's the drama. It's the making it more drama, because like we're all trying to live a story or create a story. And
well, let's not say all.
Well, and all to prove my point. So you're now constantly doing these things and saying these things that make your story sound cooler. It's like, I don't need friends. I don't do friends. Or yeah, I all I want to do is win. That's all I ever want to do.
Friends. So hilarious. Like, I'm not about that life.
To where you're just trying to make your story sound cool.
Yeah.
And it's so some people, not cool to be, like you said, lukewarm and just like, yeah, I'm not super competitive anymore because I don't need to be. Like, I realize that playing a game of Monopoly with my family isn't the end all be all if I win or lose. Like, it doesn't matter. It's like, it's not cool to be like, yeah, it's just more fun to just be a part and like play or do something together. Everybody's like, oh, okay, this guy's a loser.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, but nobody wants to be the stable one. They want to be the exciting person.
Well, yeah, I mean, you take money with that. If you were just like, yeah, I just worked consistently and then made a lot of money, that's less cool than the 20-year-old that got rich.
Yeah.
For some crazy thing that they did.
And then blows it. Even that. It's like,
yeah,
the story's still cooler than the, guy in Maine that just worked on a ship his whole life.
And that's what I think social media doesn't help, but that's with this where it gets so weird is I don't think people even do it for the positive stuff. Like they're not even trying to create a success story. Like it's a lot of, this was the drama, this was the trauma, this was my childhood, and this is why I have this relationship with these people because of this, or like this is my insecurity and whatever. It's like when people live through their insecurities or just keep not even insecurities, I think that's it. It's like their insecurities or their traumas or their, like, that is still, you're creating this story and this identity of like, well, I'm this person that's codependent. I'm this person that gets jealous. I'm this person that whatever. It's like, it's weird that we even put so much effort to keeping that alive. It's like, this doesn't make you look good. It's like, to me, again, with the Instagram thing, I get why people show all the highlights. But when you're on social media talking about how your life sucks, that I can't wrap my head around that. I get it's for attention, so maybe I can wrap my head around it. But I'm like, why are you showing people that? Like, you should just be showing the good stuff, in my head.
Yeah. Well, that's where I think drama is the perfect word. Because it's...
Because I'm like, isn't that embarrassing that your life isn't perfect? Obviously, that's a dramatic thing to say. But like, in a world where it's so crazy on social media, I'm saying, like, why are you choosing to show where you're failing when you can choose to show whatever?
Because it's drama and it's attention. And it's... You're going to get people that... There's something about the pride of that, I think, that people get from it.
What do you mean?
Well, it's like, I have it harder than everybody. What?
Sorry, I almost wore that shirt, but mine.
Oh.
And I don't think I would have even noticed until we sat down. That's so funny.
I don't think people even like they I don't even know what I was saying.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. I think it's the drama thing to me. People just want their life to be something. So whether they're more comfortable, it's like what we're talking about with that. Like, I'm not gonna say what I like and what makes me happy. That's cheesy.
Mm.
So I'm gonna talk about the negative stuff, and then there's people on the other side that's like it's more embarrassing to talk about things not going well or traumas or whatever. So they keep that locked in a box, and they only show or talk about how good their life is. It to me, it's the same thing. It's just two ends of the
Okay.
spectrum. You have either the person that comes in and is just like won't stop talking about their trauma and all the shit they're going through. And then at the same party, you have the guy that's like, "Yep, I fucking sold this sweet house and I got a new car and I'm this and I'm that." And it's like, you both are the same person.
Yeah.
You're just living in drama and just trying to be this thing that has this story, and you're getting something from it. It's more exciting and it's more cool to have some sort of a story, whether it's a tragedy or it's a success.
Got it.
Because that's something that we've talked about a lot lately is I feel like the female story is typically the Cinderella thing. It's somebody's going to come sweep them off their feet and
They're gonna save me.
and they're going to have the movie boyfriend that does all the right things and gets some flowers and does this and does that. And the male story is this like, I'm going to struggle and overcome. And then it's like, you're just focusing on struggling all the time, and all you're doing is struggling because that's all you're thinking about or all you're focusing on. And then the female, it's the same thing of like the boyfriend that like their whole life is the boyfriend and the husband and the whatever. So now they're just stuck in this hamster wheel of, you know, is he going to get me flowers? Is he going to do this? Like, and then you start to minimize it so much too of like, he opened the door for me. He's the greatest boyfriend in the world. And it's like, you so badly want a story that
Yes.
you're making every insignificant thing super significant. And this males do the same thing.
Yeah.
Every insignificant struggle that doesn't mean anything, they make this like big like, and I'm going to overcome it and I'm going to push past it. And it's like, you fucking forgot your shoelace or some shit. Like nothing even happened. And you're making
Yeah.
this big like overcoming man story about it. It's like, there's no story. You're just
Yes.
living a life.
Ugh.
There's no story.
That I know we've been talking about it a lot, so maybe I'm just like really riled up about it. But that again is like check your story and check what is real. And that's what's hard is because it does feel real to you. But it's almost like what do you want to be? What's your ideal scenario? Are you trying to makeshift what is happening into that so that you can just say that it's real and it's happening versus actually doing it? Like we're talking a lot lately about kind of like that. Like what is your role as a male female? Like what do you bring to the table? What maybe should you bring to the table if that is anything? Or like what are you supposed to develop your tools into kind of? And it's weird that that is what is sold to us, or that is what I think most people would say. Like, well, what's a good, like, why do you think that person has a good boyfriend? Or like, what is he doing that's admirable? It's like, well, he gets her presents and takes her places and says nice, cute things to her and shows her off or whatever. But it's like, but that guy can't have a conversation. He can't
Yeah.
fight appropriately and like maturely, and it's like, oh, he gets mad off of silly stupid little things. Like, oh, so he's a boy.
Yeah.
He is a child that just does enough to show like, well, this is all that you care about, so I really don't have to do the work. And then same thing on the male side. I think it's looking at those things like, well, I want to be the man of the family, so I just have to do the things that look manly. Like you're putting on the part. But it's like it's so deep just into your being, I think.
Well, and like you said, it's
Like
sold
you
to us.
can't do things. I mean, you can do things, but it's not like how am I trying to say this? This sounds stupid how I'm talking about it, but it's almost not the things that you can put tangible placements on. I think that's what I talk about, because like it's not the you doing the dishes or you doing the thing. It's like it's the feeling you bring. And the like the stability that you bring. It's like I think a good female in the house or a mom in the house is you're providing like an emotional guidance. You can't go, well, because she does this to give you emotional guidance. For the man, to me, it's like support and stability.
Well, and I think
you can't put a finger on that.
Yeah.
Necessarily.
And those I think are done so much by just very like subtle actions and situations and stuff like that. But I think there's the like, I don't know. I think people might try to call bullshit on the whole story thing and whatever. And that's where I go, watch any movie that's designed more for men. Watch any movie that's designed more for females. It's the same freaking story every single time.
Mm-hmm.
The man gets in this bad situation and has to overcome it. The female is on this journey to find this boy, and she can't find the right one, or the one that she really likes isn't doing what she wants him to, and then it ends up, oh, he's actually amazing and everything's great.
Mm-hmm.
He does this one grand gesture and everything's fine now.
He shows up in the rain. That's all he
Yeah, he shows up in the rain.
He just has to be wet and there.
And playing music.
Yeah.
So it's like we're presented the same stories
and
over and over again.
That would still work. Even though they have seen it in movies over and over and over again and how cheesy it is. If you and your person got in a fight and then he showed up in an inopportune time, the stupid brain would go, but look at how much effort he's putting in. Yep. He's standing in the rain for me.
And you'd even connect to like, he's just doing this because it's in the movies.
Which, so cringe.
And then you'd be like,
so disgusting.
But this is kind of funny and cute and whatever.
And it's the same cringy on the other side.
Yep.
Of like, you're trying to be manly right now.
Yeah.
And it is just the silliest little thing that it's, again, you're feeding into your own gender. It's like another man might look at that and go, that's cool. But all the girls are like,
yeah.
What was that?
Yeah. Why are you doing that?
Why did he think that was cool?
Yeah.
Like, why did he think that was manly?
This is where I was so lucky to have a sister that was close to me. Close to my age.
Oh, sure.
Because it was like, don't do that.
Yeah.
It's like,
that's embarrassing for you.
Yeah. Don't do this thing.
Yeah.
It's like, that's not cool. Yeah. That whole story thing is such a poison. It's such a poison. Because it is. You're playing the part of somebody in a movie.
Mm-hmm.
And now you're so disconnected from what's actually real and what it actually should be and how you should feel and how you should act and do things. And it's just because you see it in movies and you see the same repetitive thing. The man needs to overcome something. So now you're putting obstacles in your own way to overcome, just to overcome something. And then you're like, look, see, I'm overcoming it. And everybody's like, overcoming what?
Right.
Like, you don't have to overcome anything.
The thing that you caused in the first place?
Yeah. It's like you thought all of your distress was because you didn't, wipe the counters off every day or something.
Right.
It's like, look, I'm overcoming it. I don't want to do this, but I'm doing it. It's like, great. Nobody fucking cares. Like, that's not manly.
That's like another new wave on Instagram in the parenting. Like when it's like a husband and wife that do an account together, where it's like the manly thing that he's doing is like cleaning. It's like, I take care of my wife and I clean the house for her every morning. It's like, that's the manly thing you're doing. You're just cleaning your own home. Like, you just have to, that's being an adult.
Yeah.
It's like, why do you feel like you need praise for that?
Again, I mean, this is our society.
But because it's like, oh, he's a guy and he's cleaning something or he's helping out. Like, because you helped, that should get a point.
Yeah, no. It's like that's the regular.
That's not extra.
But this is our society. We're taking the insignificant things and making them significant.
Sure.
It's like, tell that to your grandparents. Like, it's so crazy. He like cooks food.
Right.
It's like, okay, what are you talking about? I was in World War II. What the fuck? Like, he cooks food? Cool. It's like, he also is wearing Vans. So,
Yeah, I know.
what are we talking about?
That's something that's so cool about the older couples that have stayed together, which is most of our generation, older couples, they are together. But it's like, I love how my grandparents specifically, they have such roles that they have just like, it's like you said, like the tire in the train or tire in the snow tracks.
Yeah.
Tire creating the snow tracks.
Yeah.
Whatever. You guys know what I'm saying.
You got there.
To where now it's like, you're stepping in my lane. Like, that's not something you do.
Oh, sure.
Like, if my grandpa would like try to get in the kitchen and help with something,
Yes.
it's just like, you're in my way.
Yeah.
But then also, if people are around and like not getting entertained, like, I'm sure my grandpa would be like, what are you doing? Like, this is your thing. Like, you should be talking to people.
Yeah.
Like, get out, like, entertain, like,
mingle.
Get a good story going. Like, get off the iPad with the pictures.
Yeah. Yeah.
To where it's such an extreme of, my grandma will have everything that's so host-like and have her shit together and can cook 25 things at a time. That's her lane. She's great about it. I've never seen someone with more crock pots in my life.
Yeah.
And then my grandpa on the other side, it's like, he is just the entertainment, to where he got an iPad just so that he could pull up pictures to go along with the stories. He's like, we got to up the production here.
Yeah.
They have heard these stories so many times. I got to bring a visual element.
We need visuals. Yeah. It's not landing as much as I wish it was.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
But I think where it can be a helpful tool to check the narrative, it's easy for us because we have each other to poke holes in the narrative, but almost playing that objectives game. Like, if you are going to be, or like what you learn if you're going to debate with someone or have a sales pitch, I guess, like, you learn what objectives they're going to come at you with, so then you know how to counteract their pushback. That almost having that singular conversation with yourself. So, like, if it's something that you believe, pretend like you are someone else and your only goal in that conversation is to bring up points to prove that you're wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, devil's advocate.
Yeah, like, be your own extreme and not just go like, oh yeah, okay. It's like, no, make sure that you win that argument just so that you can see there's another reality here that could be possible. Like, I feel like that's an easy thing to just do. Okay, you think this. Let's just say that there's a world where that's not true. Now what?
Yeah. Think you are completely wrong about this.
Then
and
what?
Now what? And like, what are all the ways that you are wrong about this?
Sure.
And it's like, you can start to figure out like, oh, this isn't as certain as I maybe thought it was. And it's like, I just did it of like, check the way that you're even talking about stuff. I'm trying to change this, story and struggle and overcome it and that sort of thing and be happier on the porch in the rocker. But even the way that I'm saying it is like, what I want is just to be there and like, oh, I did it. Even that emotion and sound has the story of you overcame it. Oh, I did it. It's like, did what?
Well, even that, like, you're envisioning a scene. You're romanticizing this idea of a porch in the rocker. Like, even that.
When it's like, you did what? What every single person does in this world is they go through life and they get older and then they are just still there. It's like, you're not going to do this big overcoming thing. That doesn't happen and exist. You also can't, you can create that, but it's also not going to be real. It's like, why are you putting roadblocks in your own way or obstacles to overcome? It's like, those things naturally come. It's like we've been saying a lot. It's like, you can't give yourself your own nickname. You can't determine what the obstacles are going to be. That's not up to you.
Yeah.
Like, they're going to come naturally and in their own forms. And then those are the things that you deal with or whatever. But don't have this mentality or this attitude of like, oh, I'm just overcoming everything and I'm just getting through all the struggles and whatever. That romanticizing that is just, it seems like a big waste of time and also a lie. Just like the Cinderella story for the female. It's like, that's not how stuff works. It's just not. Like, I think we're so caught up in those two storylines, and then we create all this stuff, and then even still, I'm talking about it of like, yeah, and then I'm on the the rocking chair, and it's like I did it. It's like, no, get rid of that image.
Yeah. Yep. I think men, it's the overcoming the underdog story, and then you succeed, and everybody is cheering for you, and you get all this credit for it. And then I think on the female side, it's just living in that distress. Like, you want someone to save you, but it's never going to be you. Like, we don't want to have I shouldn't say we. I think typical females, they don't want to have the overcoming moment. They want to have the savior. And that savior isn't necessarily always a like romantic figure. Like, it could be your job. It could be your lifestyle. It could be your siblings. It's like something that's going to recognize your struggle and then take care of you, or to like come and help.
Yeah. We got to get out of that story mindset. We're so sold it all the time. That's what movies are. That's what TV is. That's what social media is. Like, social media is just become the quicker example of this storytelling thing. It's just people putting up their struggles and just won't stop talking about their struggles and their trauma and the shit that they're trying to overcome. Or the opposite end. My life is perfect. Everything's great. The boy has saved me. The job has saved me. Look at where I'm at. Everything's great and wonderful. I've been saved. It's like, just post regular stuff.
Yeah.
Or don't post at all. Or don't like.
Yeah. I think that the checking it, the analyzing it is hard to do yourself, but it's so necessary because you're going to be the only person probably that can consistently do that for you. I think for us, we had such a dramatic version of that when we first got together, because it's like before that, it was really just our families and like the way that our families would talk about certain things, mostly like about us. And then we come in and you're like, what? Why do they why is that real? Like, they keep saying you're this sweet, cares about everybody girl that like, is just trying to save the family. And you're like, you're a bitch. you're like, no, you're selfish and you're just codependent. And it's like all these, like, they have just created their own story about you. Like, you're this person. So I'm living up to this idea. And you're like, but talk about the actions. Like, what are your actions? And the same thing on your side. Like, you're saying this, but none of your actions are displaying that.
Yeah.
Just no one in your group has checked any of that. No one's checked the facts in a while.
Yeah, but you have this identity now of
like, we're this.
Yeah, you're this thing. Yeah. And it doesn't matter what you do or say. Everybody's like, well, they're that. So
yeah.
Which is, it's extreme. It's crazy how powerful that is, because you take that to the sports example. It's like, well, don't give Peyton Manning or Tom Brady the ball with a minute 15 left on the clock. Don't give Patrick Mahomes the ball with a minute. Like, they accrue this identity of like the comeback person.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, everybody knows that. And then now that that player knows and hears that everybody thinks that, they're now absorbing that of like, yeah, I'm that guy. And now it's like, seriously, don't do that because they're going to win the game. And it's crazy how that
Or one
happens.
Time they don't, and it's a bigger upset because you have this idea around you. It's like, well, no, it was always just kind of a 50-50 shot.
Yeah, it's always circumstantial.
It seems more extreme because you've created this version of they're They're underdogs.
Well, and
like they'll fight to the top.
That's what's interesting about those people then too, is when they have that situation happen, it's like, how do you respond to that? It's like, what do you, there's a guy in the NBA right now that everybody's saying is the next Michael Jordan. And it's like, he probably hears that. And now what happens when he has a season that he doesn't do really that great? And it's like, oh, okay, we were wrong. He's not the next Michael Jordan. Or it's like, he's not as good as we thought he was.
It's like, he's still insane and awesome, but because there's the comparison.
But what does that do to psyche? And now does he still go, no, I am, or I'm better than that? Or is it that completely breaks him? You see it happening in fighting all the time too. This guy will be just tearing through everybody. And then he starts to get to the top echelon of fighters, and maybe he's fighting for a title, and it's like, this guy's the next coming. Like, nobody can stop him. And then all of a sudden, he gets knocked out. Never the same. So it's like, but then some guys that happens, and then it's the next fight, they're right back in it. And they eventually get to where they want to go or whatever. It's interesting, that moment that happens of, where does your brain go? Do you now go, oh, I'm not that person? Or does it go like, or was it really even ever there? Were they like, no, this isn't what it is, and they just continue to do the thing that they're doing?
I mean, that's what I'm talking about with the life shattering, or the part of you that dies sort of thing. It's like, you come in and you tell me you're not the sweet person that everybody says. You're not this like savior of all.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, that's the only thing I've identified with.
Yeah.
So like, now I'm questioning every decision and every conversation and how I'm giving advice. And like, should I even be giving advice? Like, why are you coming to me for advice? Like, I shouldn't be this person now. That now you just start to spiral. But I think sometimes that spiraling can be good.
Well, it's like, you need a reality check.
It could be decades and decades. So I was 20 at the time, but decades.
It could be like 6 years of.
It's like, it could be a very long time of, that is who people portrayed you to be. And so that's even another subsection of this, of it might not even be the narrative you created. Like, it could be a narrative that your family has about you.
Yeah.
That's like, but this isn't true anymore. Like, we were just talking about someone where we're like, oh man, they've changed so much in like the time that I've at least known them. It's like, oh, that's kind of funny that you can see the shift. And when someone like just settles into that and they're not trying to fight to be what they used to be, it's like, no, this is my new phase of life, and I'm like diving into this hard because that just makes sense, and like, I can change who I am.
Yeah. It being kind of put upon you that you're that person, and then, somebody bring it to your attention of like, no, you're not really, or even you don't need to be, but your identity's so wrapped up into it. It's just that thing of like, there needs to be a balancing act of it, or there needs to be a healthier version of what this is. It's like, you shouldn't identify with something so strongly that it just has this emotional, unhealthy attachment and desire for it. It's like, no, just be a person. Like, you're good in some situations and bad in other situations. It's like, you don't always give the best advice. Nobody does.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't need to be the savior every time. But there is like, the way that you do be that is just by being you and like doing the best that you can and being honest and all that kind of stuff. It's not by having this identity complex of, I'm this person and I'm going to be the best ever and what, and it just, also, your stuff doesn't work for other people all the time. So it's the unhealthy emotional thing that we have with our stuff that makes it not good, and makes it something that you should look into and pull it apart and see, okay, does keeping this too lead me in the direction I want to go? Or is it really even helpful anymore? Or is this identity have me in handcuffs and chains and I can't be anything else around my family, around these other people, because this is what they know me as. So if I'm not that anymore, like, are they going to like me? Are they going to put up with me? Are they going to deal with me? Like,
And
what
even
happens.
that's a story that you're telling yourself as well.
Exactly.
Like, they may not think that you're that person, period.
Exactly.
Like, you could think, this is what I bring to the table for them. And they're like, we don't come to you for that at all.
And even if they do, even if you are that person to them and they say that to you every time they see you.
Okay, yeah, sure.
You know, it's like, but is this helpful and beneficial to you? Like, you being the savior, you being the person that, you know, splits everyone up. If your family fights all the time and you're the one that has to break them up every time, and that's your identity, that's your role in the family. It's like, what if you don't play that role anymore? It's like, no, fight. Seriously, like, punch each other in the face. Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm not doing this anymore.
Yeah.
I think you get so handcuffed to these situations and to these identities that it's like, it's not serving you. Going back to what we began this conversation with, like, it's not serving you and benefiting you anymore. So why continue to play the role, to play the part?
Yeah.
Is that it?
Yeah, I kind of feel like it is.
All right.
We didn't preview the last one, but I feel like it's fine. But
we previewed the last one, I think.
We did?
Yeah. Maybe we didn't. I don't know.
I don't know.
But we don't really have anything on the docket.
I thought we do.
For the next one? What do you think it is? The what? Oh, if you want.
I think I want to. We're going to talk about the benefits of music for the brain.
Another thing. I created an identity of, I'm not into music. I'm that person. It's just like, why? Stupid ass.
Yeah. Stupid.
Because it's cool. I'm the cool guy that doesn't like music.
Well, yeah, it's like you're just trying to be the different one.
Well, and it's actually, I just never have really been around it and had it in my life that much.
Sure.
It's never like, I'm not the person that's like, get in the car and it's like, I gotta have the music on. It just gives me that thing.
Yeah.
It's like, I think I'm pretty picky with music. That's like, I don't know. I like my own thoughts. So, or conversation that I just never really put it on. But I think it's the same thing that you would do with fun. So it's like, you just lean so hard and you're like, no, I don't want it. I don't want to deal with it. It's like, well, sometimes it's fine. It's whatever.
Or it's like, there's a version of this that you do like. Just
right.
Like there's certain artists, there's certain songs, there's certain genres of music that you like. There's certain genres of fun.
Yeah. I think it's just easier to be like, yeah, I don't really care for it.
Yeah. But you're working on it. You're working on changing the scene.
And I'm going to get a piano.
Yeah.
How wonderful.
How wonderful.
All right. See you later.
Bye.